go without saying at this point in my presentation that witchcraft, secret societies, and even demonic possession are still very prevalent in modern society. It's not BS. So to say your kids are being laughed at by Satanists on Halloween, also known as Samhain, is a bit of an understatement. In fact, it's largely promoted for this reason, as well as the gorging of sugar that does have an impact on more than just a person's ability to connect spiritually. Again, pineal gland, if you want. That may sound ridiculous, but pagans and Satanists believe in these things for a reason. You might notice a very large candy aisle in every store for every single holiday, and it's no coincidence. They're not just making candy moguls and dentists richer. It also dumbs society down and facilitates mind control for the occult militaries, but we'll get to that. All the major holidays, especially American, involve huge amounts of sugar, but for Halloween in particular, seeing your kid dressed as a gray alien, let alone a vampire, goblin, or witch, makes a Satanist smile. They got to you, and you may think it's just a game. The kids sure do. Just non-sugary food for thought, and here's a connection to their lines of reasoning. Ritual sacrifice of babies has been traced through various ancient religions like of Ishtar, Molech, Baal, or Baal, also known as Bel, and others. The Sunday service of Ishtar, the star Sirius, remember, is the original bloodbath of Easter Sunday, though. That day is not at all about Jesus' resurrection, at least to these people, even if the Catholic Church worked it out for the same time period as Passover and the other feast days that Jesus died and was resurrected on. The Ishtar cultists murdered babies on the altar, and the drained blood was used to dye Ishtar or Easter eggs during the Sunday service. I won't comment on the rest of the disgusting ceremony. Sacrificing children is one of the cornerstones to make a Freemasonic link of paganism or Satanism. Remember the unholy trinity I mentioned. It has significance with these holidays outside of Catholicism. And it's well known that Christmas is not actually Jesus' birthday. It's more the celebration of the winter solstice for pagans. Again, this is the result of the Roman Emperor Constantine trying to hold his empire together in favor of pagans rather than Christians. Jesus' birthday is figured sometime near the end of September, based on the birthday of John, who was 6 months apart, and it's shown in Scripture. It's not that hard to figure out. I'm quoting from this site that shows it very well. Assuming John's conception took place near the end of June, adding 9 months brings us to the end of March as the most likely time for John's birth. Adding another 6 months, the difference in ages between John and Jesus brings us to the end of September as the likely time of Jesus' birth. And if it followed one of the Lord's feast days, that might even be on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Take that as you will. And furthermore, Christmas, Christ Mass, is in no way one of the Lord's holy feast days. In fact, Hanukkah was an afterthought of rededicating the Second Holy Temple and not one of the original holidays either, though it's at least a reasonable holiday. It's just that we were brought up with notions of snow and singing Christmas carols, making it a jolly season. Aside from the fact of it being the only time of year, you can count on people being generous or nice to one another. But shouldn't every day be about Christ in that regard? It's a phony pagan holiday designed by pagans for sun god worship. Harmless as that may seem, it has occult ceremonies intertwined with the solar cross and zodiacal calendar, which people should realize by now also has not one thing to do with Yahweh, Christ, or anything resembling Christianity. That's the pagan calendar, and while people, pagans really, try to bring Christ into it because of the cross, it's a joke on him, a joke on you, and a joke on your kids for becoming greedy from excessive gift giving and fattening up on more sweets. It's about as simple as that, almost. And to add to that, Christmas trees are in fact a variation of the obelisk, just one that any poor person in history could grab from a nearby forest and celebrate a pagan holiday with. An obelisk in your own home. The ornamental bulbs are another male body part, and tinsel has its own pagan origin, but if you want to take it a step further, the original Satan Claus, or Santa, used to run with Krampuses, Krampus sounds ridiculous, or blackjacks who resemble goat demons like Azazel, Baphomet, Samael, or Pan. This is because Santa is derived from Odin, Nimrod, and Lucifer worship, through Sinterklaas, and a false notion of St. Nicholas, whom even the Vatican claims never existed. That's because he's Satan to simplify things. Again, Nimrod, the giant god being of his empire, or child of gods like Egyptian pharaohs, was serving Lucifer. Odin, who Sinterklaas or Saint Nick is derived from, impregnated mortal women, as all fallen angels were said to, and he also had an 8-legged horse The eight reindeer were derived from before Rudolph was added. He is Satan, the primeval god, and the sun god of Luciferian winter solstice paganism. Nimrod has just been confused with Odin and Santa, or Satan. He was actually a follower, whether he ended up being deified and confused as such later. It's worth noting that Old Nick is another name for Satan, and St. Nicholas should be the obvious link. The ho 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 is what Satan used to say when entering the stage during old plays. So whether Santa Claus traces to Nimrod or not, that's how we know it's really Satan. It's all relative anyway. He's not the good guy breaking into your house, and the fallen angel watchers probably do see you when you're sleeping. Krampuses are the original elves who beat the bad kids, or worse, and some cultures still celebrate with them. In the original version, they put particularly bad kids in a bag to take home to eat. And in the movie A Christmas Story, they know that the elves are Krampuses, and you can tell by their attitude alone. But also, Ralphie has made the climb a pyramid to see Satan in person. The slide to hell is the final touch, full of disappointments for the kids. You'll also note they slipped in the Wizard of Oz, and that has huge links to MK Ultra post-hypnotic triggers. There's really a lot you can pick apart about it, but don't mistake that you've been sold a Santa that is really Satan ever since Coca-Cola rebranded him for mass marketing in the early 20th century. And you can see that even in the mid-20th century that Christmas was already a drag on people. It's intended that way because it's Satan's holiday during the cold winter solstice day in hell frozen over. But that is where we get our elves, little green men, leprechauns, gnomes, and other similar depictions from, demons. Are they all variations of Crowley's Lawn? We keep coming back to them, and it's very likely their intentions have always been to get some unsuspecting dupe of a Nimrod to perform occult magical science to break them out of their abysmal prison. Now let's look more at the Catholic Church and the continuation of paganism. Paganism is where rumors of a light and dark side of Catholicism come from. Again, it's the machinations of Roman Emperor Constantine. An obelisk and radial sun symbol, likely of Ishtar, that stems from Nimrod's Babylonian witch schools and or the Brotherhood of the Snake, set the whole pagan stage. And you'll also notice the entirety of the construction faces due west, and that's no coincidence, since that's where sunset is. Set as the Egyptian Satan, still worshipped by many, including psychological warfare specialists in the military like Colonel Michael Aquino, who created the Temple of Set in America. The entire square is built this way as a temple of human sacrifice. It's why the dead are kept where they are, and I can support this claim by using the Washington Monument. It has an even more obvious construction, faces west also, keeps the dead in the same place, possibly for a reason of evil reincarnation I won't get into, and was built by the same people, the Freemasons. While not identical, they bear the same symbolism of obelisks and female symbols to go with. They can be traced from Egyptian gods to Babylon, and were purposely built to be seen from space by the star gods that so many ancient cultures depict. Or maybe it's to entertain the Amazon Nazis on the moon, who knows. It's purposely offensive because of pagan satanic origins, and I'm sufficing to say Freemasons are Luciferians, at least the ranking portion of them are, and it's hard to imagine the original papacy had no clue what was being built under their noses. I will go so far as to say the X and the O of the monument likely originates within the Synagogue of Satan, directly related to the idea of Clawfoot, or Clawfoot, whatever, and the mark of the beast. It represents the souls of those who die insane and are sent to the abyss, and this is a big part of the reason that suicide rates are up. Kabbalism is more widely practiced within Freemasonry with the motto of Ordo ab Chao, order out of chaos, related